Welcome to the last Cowboy Stories, where we dive deep into the untamed tales of the Old West. Saddle up, folks, because today we're unraveling a gripping yarn that'll have you on the edge of your seat. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a story from the dusty trails of history. Let's ride into this one, please. Don't stand that close. Rancher did it anyway, then did the unthinkable. The sun hung low over the jagged peaks of the Sierra Nevada, casting long shadows across the parched earth of Nevada Territory in the year 1867. Dust devils danced in the distance, whipping up sand and sagebrush like ghosts of forgotten prospectors. In the heart of this rugged land lay the town of Silver Gulch, a ramshackle collection of saloons, general stores, and boarding houses that sprang up overnight around the promise of silver veins buried deep in the mountains. It was a place where fortunes were made and lost in the blink of an eye, where men carried six-shooters on their hips and grudges in their hearts. Our story centers on a man named Harlan Thorpe, a rancher who'd clawed his way up from nothing. Harlan wasn't your typical cowboy. He was broad-shouldered, with a face etched by years under the relentless sun, and eyes that could pierce through a man's soul like a Bowie knife. He'd come to Silver Gulch a decade earlier, herding cattle across the barren plains, dreaming of staking his claim on a piece of land that could yield more than just hardship. By 67, he'd built Thorpe Ranch into a sprawling operation. Thousands of acres dotted with longhorns, a sturdy cabin, and a barn that echoed with the lowing of beasts ready for market. But Harlan had enemies. In a town like Silver Gulch, envy festered like an open wound. Chief among them was Elias Crow, a slick, talking mine owner whose Comstock load claims had made him richer than Croesus. Elias was the kind of man who wore tailored suits even in the heat, with a mustache waxed to perfection and a derringer hidden in his vest pocket. He saw Harlan's ranch as prime real estate for expansion. Water rights from the nearby creek could irrigate his mining operations, turning dust into dollars. The feud started small, as these things often do. A few missing cattle here, a disputed fence line there, whispers in the saloon about rustlers working for Crow. Harlan, never one to back down, confronted Elias one sweltering afternoon outside the Golden Nugget Saloon. "Stay off my land, Crow," Harlan growled, his hand resting casually on the pearl-handled Colt at his side. Elias just smirked, tipping his hat. "The West is for the taking, Thorpe. You best remember that." Tensions simmered through the summer, boiling over at the annual Silver Gulch Rodeo. Folks from miles around gathered for bronc busting, calf roping, and enough whiskey to float a steamboat. Harlan entered his prize bull, a massive brute named Thunder, in the stock show. Elias, not to be outdone, paraded his thoroughbred stallion, flashing gold from his saddle. The air was thick with excitement and the scent of barbecue pits. As the judges announced winners, a murmur rippled through the crowd. Thunder took first prize, edging out Elias's horse by a hair. Elias's face twisted into a mask of fury. He stormed up to Harlan, who was accepting his ribbon with a rare smile. "This ain't over, rancher," Elias hissed, his voice low but venomous. "You think you're king of this gulch? I'll bury you." Harlan turned slowly, his eyes narrowing. "Please, don't stand that close, Crow. A man needs room to breathe." The words hung in the air like smoke from a gunshot. Elias stepped even nearer, their noses inches apart, the crowd holding its breath. "Or what?" Elias challenged. What happened next would become legend in Silver Gulch, whispered around campfires for generations. Harlan didn't draw his gun, not yet. Instead, he did the unthinkable. He laughed. A deep, rumbling laugh that echoed across the rodeo grounds. It wasn't mockery, it was something darker, a release of pent-up rage. Then, in a blur, Harlan's fist connected with Elias's jaw, sending the mine owner sprawling into the dirt. The crowd gasped. Fights weren't uncommon in the Old West, but this was different. Elias scrambled to his feet, blood trickling from his lip, and reached for his derringer. Before he could fire, Harlan's Colt was out, barking once. The bullet grazed Elias's arm, spinning him around. "I warned you," Harlan said calmly, holstering his weapon as if he'd just swatted a fly. Sheriff Amos Black, a grizzled veteran with a tin star pinned to his vest, pushed through the throng. "That's enough, boys. Take it elsewhere." But the damage was done. Elias clutched his wounded arm, vowing revenge as his men dragged him away. Harlan tipped his hat to the sheriff and mounted his horse, riding back to the ranch under a sky turning crimson with sunset. Word spread like wildfire. By nightfall, every saloon in Silver Gulch buzzed with the tale. Some called Harlan a hero, standing up to the Bully Crow. Others whispered he was a hothead, inviting trouble. But no one could deny the spark had been lit, a powder keg waiting to explode. Days turned to weeks, and the ranch hummed with activity. Harlan hired extra hands, wary of retaliation. His foreman, a loyal Mexican named Javier Ruiz, patrolled the fences at night. "Senator Thorpe, you poked the bear," Javier warned one evening over coffee by the fire. "Crow won't forget." Harlan nodded, staring into the flames. "I know, but a man's got to defend what's his." Deep down, he felt the weight of it. He'd come west to escape the ghosts of his past. A failed marriage back in Missouri, a brother lost to the Civil War. The ranch was all he had, a testament to his grit. Meanwhile, Elias nursed his wound in his opulent mansion on the hill overlooking the mines. Bandaged and bitter, he plotted. "That rancher thinks he can humiliate me." He snarled to his right-hand man, a scar-faced enforcer named Butch Harlan. "No relation, just cruel coincidence. We'll hit him where it hurts." Their plan was simple yet devastating. Rustle Harlan's entire herd under cover of darkness, drive them to a hidden canyon, and rebrand them for sale in California. Elias's miners, desperate for extra pay, signed on. They struck on a moonless night, ghosts in the shadows. Javier spotted them first, his rifle cracking in the still air. "Rustlers!" he shouted, rousing the bunkhouse. Harlan burst from his cabin, gun in hand, as chaos erupted. Gunfire lit the night like fireflies, bullets whizzing past. One of Harlan's hands fell, clutching his chest. Harlan returned fire, dropping 2 intruders, but they were outnumbered. The rustlers stampeded the cattle, a thundering mass of hooves and horns vanishing into the darkness. By dawn, the ranch was eerily quiet, save for the moans of the wounded. Harlan surveyed the damage. Half his herd gone, 2 men dead, Javier nursing a grazed shoulder. Rage boiled in his veins. "This ends now," he muttered, saddling his horse. Ignoring Javier's pleas to wait for the sheriff, Harlan rode into town alone, dust trailing behind him like a cape. Silver Gulch was abuzz when he arrived. Folks parted as he strode into the Golden Nugget, where Elias held court at a poker table. The room fell silent. Elias looked up, feigning surprise. "Thorpe, what brings you here? Lose something." Harlan's voice was steel. "You know damn well. Call off your dogs, Crow, or so help me." Elias leaned back, smirking. "Or what? You'll punch me again, shoot me in front of witnesses." He gestured to the crowded saloon. "Please, don't stand that close. A man needs room to draw." The echo of Harlan's earlier words hung heavy. The rancher stepped forward, unflinching. Whispers rippled. Would there be a showdown right here? Then Harlan did the unthinkable again. Instead of drawing, he grabbed a bottle from the bar and smashed it over Elias's head. Glass shattered, whiskey spraying. Elias slumped, dazed as the room erupted. Butch lunged, knife flashing. Harlan sidestepped, slamming his elbow into the enforcer's nose with a sickening crunch. Fists flew, chairs broke, the saloon descending into a brawl. Harlan fought like a cornered wolf, taking punches but giving more. Sheriff Black burst in, firing into the ceiling. "Break it up." Men scattered, leaving Harlan standing over Elias, breathing hard. "You're under arrest, Thorpe," the sheriff said, cuffing him. "Assault, disturbing the peace." As they dragged him to the jail, Harlan spat, "He's the thief, Amos. Check the canyon north of here." The sheriff paused, eyeing Elias, who was coming to. "That true, Crow?" Elias wiped blood from his brow. "Lies, all lies." But doubt seeded. While Harlan cooled his heels in a cell, Sheriff Black rode out with a posse. They found the hidden canyon, the rebranded cattle, and a few of Elias's men who sang like canaries for leniency. By morning, Elias was in chains beside Harlan. "You bastard." Elias growled through the bars. Harlan just smiled. "Told you not to stand so close." The trial was the talk of the territory. Judge Harlan, no relation, again presided in the makeshift courtroom above the saloon. Witnesses poured in, ranch hands, miners turning on their boss, even the bartender recounting the brawl. Elias's lawyer, a Weasley sort from San Francisco, painted Harlan as a violent vigilante. This man took the law into his own hands. Harlan's defense was simple. "I defended what's mine." Crow started it. The jury, mostly locals tired of Elias's tyranny, deliberated for an hour. Verdict: Harlan acquitted on self-defense. Elias guilty of rustling, sentenced to 10 years in Yuma prison. But fate had one more twist. As Elias was loaded onto the stagecoach for transport, he bribed a guard, escaping into the hills. Word reached Harlan at the ranch: "Crow's loose, gunning for you." Harlan didn't run. He fortified the ranch, posting guards, waiting. It came at dusk, 3 days later. Elias and a band of outlaws crested the ridge, rifles gleaming. "Thorpe," Elias bellowed, "come out and face me." Harlan stepped onto the porch, Colt holstered. "You never learn, do you? Please, don't stand that close." Elias laughed maniacally, charging forward on horseback. Gunfire erupted from both sides. Javier and the hands picked off outlaws from cover. Harlan waited, steady as a rock. When Elias was within spitting distance, Harlan drew, faster than lightning. 2 shots, one to the horse's leg, bucking Elias off. The second to Elias's gun hand, shattering bone. Elias writhed in the dirt. "Finish it, you coward." Harlan approached, boot on Elias's chest. "No, you'll face justice proper." He bound him, dragging him back to town. The unthinkable, Harlan spared him. In the Old West, where vengeance was currency, mercy was rare. Elias rotted in prison, his empire crumbling. Harlan's ranch thrived, a beacon of resilience. Years later, folks still told the tale. The rancher who warned a man not to stand too close, then showed mercy when he could have killed. It reminded them that the West wasn't just about guns and gold. It was about the choices that defined a man. The wind whispered through Silver Gulch, carrying the story onward, a testament to the unbreakable spirit of the frontier. But wait, there's more to this tale than meets the eye. Let's peel back the layers, because in the Old West, nothing was ever as simple as hero versus villain. Harlan Thorpe wasn't born a rancher. He was forged in the fires of adversity. Back in Missouri, before the war tore the nation apart, Harlan had been a farmer's son, tilling soil that yielded more rocks than crops. His pa died young, leaving him to care for his ma and little sister. Then the war came, brother against brother. Harlan's kin, Elijah, joined the Union, while Harlan stayed neutral, focusing on the farm. Tragedy struck when Confederate raiders burned their homestead, killing his ma in the blaze. His sister vanished in the chaos, rumored to have been taken west by the raiders. That loss haunted Harlan, driving him across the Mississippi in search of her. He never found her, but the journey hardened him, teaching him the value of land and loyalty. Arriving in Nevada, he worked as a drover, saving every penny to buy his spread. Thorpe Ranch became his redemption. Each fence posed a stake in his new life. That's why Elias's encroachments cut so deep. It wasn't just property, it was his soul. Elias Crow, on the other hand, was a product of greed. Born to wealth in New York, he chased the gold rush west, stepping on anyone in his path. His mines employed child labor, paid in scrip, and poisoned the creeks with runoff. The people of Silver Gulch feared him more than they respected him, his derringer a symbol of unchecked power. The rodeo incident, it was the breaking point. When Harlan laughed in Elias's face, it wasn't just defiance. It was a release of years of bottled fury. From his lost family, his struggles, everything, that punch, cathartic, the Gray's shot, measured, not murderous. The rustling raid tested Harlan's mettle. Losing half his herd could have broken lesser men, but he rode into town not for vengeance, but justice, smashing the bottle over Elias's head in the saloon. Impulsive, yes, but in the heat of the moment, it disarmed the situation, literally, as Elias couldn't draw properly afterward. The trial revealed cracks in Elias's facade. Witnesses testified to his abuses. A miner whose son died in a cave-in due to shoddy supports, a widow evicted from her claim. Harlan's acquittal was as much a rebuke of Elias as vindication for the rancher. Elias's escape added drama. Bribing the guard with hidden gold, he rallied remnants of his gang. Desperados promised a share of his fortune. Their assault on the ranch was desperate, poorly planned. Harlan's mercy in sparing Elias, that was the true unthinkable act. In a land where an eye for an eye was gospel, Harlan chose the high road, perhaps influenced by his own losses. Killing Elias would make him no better than the raiders who destroyed his family. Elias died in prison 5 years later, broken and alone. Harlan lived to old age, expanding his ranch, marrying a schoolteacher named Clara, fathering 3 sons who carried on the legacy. Javier became his partner, sharing in the profits. The phrase, "Please, don't stand that close," became a local saying, a warning against pushing too far. It echoed in saloons around campfires, a reminder that even in the Wild West, boundaries mattered. Now, let's explore the broader context. The 1860s in Nevada were boom times. The Comstock lode, discovered in 1859, poured out silver, funding the Union War effort and birthing towns like Virginia City. Silver Gulch is real, life inspiration. Ranchers like Harlan supplied beef to miners, creating symbiotic yet tense relationships. Feuds over water rights were common. Droughts turned neighbors into enemies. Gunfights weren't daily occurrences, but when they happened, they were swift and final. Harlan's quick draw, plausible for a man who'd practiced since youth. Mercy, though, rare. Most stories end in blood, like the OK Corral or Billy the Kid's escapades. This tale draws from archetypes: the stoic hero, the villainous tycoon, the loyal sidekick. Think Shane or the Magnificent Seven, but grounded in reality. No white hats versus black, shades of gray. Imagine the scenes: the rodeo dust, the saloon brawls chaos, the nighttime raids gunfire. Harlan's laugh, chilling, defiant. His final choice, profound. As the sun sets on this story, remember, the Old West was more than myths. It was people like Harlan, forging lives from nothing, standing their ground. Thanks for joining me on the last Cowboy Stories. If you enjoyed this tale, give it a thumbs up, share with a friend, and comment below. What's your favorite Old West legend? Until next time, keep the spirit of the frontier alive. Ride safe.